Okay, uh, following up on the question that we just asked about our friend Joey, I want to explain why it was probably a little bit more challenging to answer the question how long would it take him to eat 100 hot dogs. So typically the kind of question we've been answering, we have over here Joey Chestnut ate 57 hot dogs in 7 minutes. So what we've been looking at is there's our 57 hot dogs in 7 minutes. And we've been saying, okay, well, one way to look at this would be to find the unit rate, because that would be the proportional amount that he would eat per minute, and then we could just scale that up to however many minutes. So I got my calculator here in my hand, and I'm going to go 57 divided by 7, and it's 8.14, so I'm going to round and say that's about 8.1 hot dogs per minute. Now, if the question would have been something like, if he continues at that rate, how many would he eat in 10 minutes? That's an easier question, because then we would just go 8.1 hot dogs per minute, and we could just simply multiply that by 10 minutes or however many minutes we were talking about, and we would end up in this case with 81 hot dogs. Okay, but that's not the question that I was asking. I was asking for how long it would take to eat 100 hot dogs. So what we're going to start practicing today is anytime you have a question involving proportion, I think the easiest, most foolproof way is to answer this by setting up and solving a proportion. So that's what we'll be practicing today. And here's what we're talking about. A proportion is two equal ratios. And anytime we have a proportional relationship, our ratios should be the same. So the way that I would suggest that we solve a problem like this is we start with a ratio. We know that 57 hot dogs took 7 minutes. And if we can set this up to any other equal ratio, so you notice what I've done here is I put an equal sign and I put another fraction bar, and now all I need is to make sure I have another ratio that compares hot dogs. So I'm going to even put the labels in here first. We need another ratio that compares hot dogs to minutes. Okay, well, in this case, the question was how many minutes. So our variable goes with the minutes. Whenever you see the how many in the label, they go together. And the question was 100 hot dogs. Okay, this is a proportion. Now, how do we solve that proportion? I think you've learned this in the past. If not, I'm going to review it. The strategy that we use is called cross-multiplying. And I think maybe it's been explained to you also as the butterfly method. So we could say that the product of these two things is going to be equal to the product of these two things. So the way that plays out is, and it doesn't matter which one you do first, I'm going to do the one with the x in it first. So what that tells us is 57x equals 7 times 100. Now this just becomes an equation that you all know how to solve. 57x equals 700. I'm going to divide both sides by 57. And we're going to end up with x equals, go over to my calculator, 700 divided by 57. And I get 12.3 after I round. And the final thing to say is it's, go back up here and say x stood for minutes, so it's 12.3 minutes. And that's how I got the answer. And I'm going to suggest that anytime you have a question that involves a proportion, start by setting up two equal ratios or a proportion and then solve it using this method rather than finding the unit rate, because that won't always get you to the right answer, as I hope you've learned from this example.